Hi, I'm Mayce.
And I'm Missy.
We're best friends
and business partners. And each week, we're going to bring you a quote that inspires us, and we're going to talk about it.
Join us as we break down our favorite impactful messages for leadership and share how you can apply them to lead with confidence and purpose.
Get ready for a fun and authentic journey into leadership, life, and everything in between.
Hey, bestie.
Hey, bestie.
Good to see your face today.
It is. Yes, absolutely. And there may be some people listening and saying, what do you mean good to see your face? It's a podcast.
Yes, that's true. However, we record on Zoom and then it does go up on YouTube too. So if you're curious what we look like, you could always check out our YouTube as well. So let's dive in. Today is going to be like so amazing. We have such an awesome guest today.
We do. It's someone, Mayce, that we both think the world of. And we're going to talk about something so good.
Yeah. So I have to admit, I stole this off of our guest's Facebook page. So Cristian, welcome. But we want to know, like, is this something you came up with? And we're going to share it in a minute. But is this something you came up with, or is this a quote from someone? Do you know? Do you remember?
Yeah. So it's funny that you asked. So the quote that you're talking about, it's, the past is a good place to, a great place for reference, but not a good place of residence.
Yes. Let me say it again, just slower, so our listeners can hear the quote. The past is a great place of reference, but it's not your residence.
I love that so much.
All right. So now tell us, Cristian, where did it come from?
So what ended up happening is I was on a journey of growth, personal growth. So I had been in the military for about 23 years.
Thank you for serving.
Yes, thank you for serving.
Absolutely. It was a privilege and an honor. And I had got to a point where I started realizing that I was doing this thing that most people do. I was comparing myself to the Joneses, right? And you'll just say the Joneses is just anybody that maybe had status or title or whatever, right? And so I found myself kind of constantly looking and comparing. And then I kept thinking about the thoughts that were in my mind, like what was coming up. And I kept hearing, you're not good enough. Who do you think you are? And we've all heard these terms before.
Sure.
Yes.
And then I paused for a second and I said, you know what? Why do I keep living there? Why do I keep living in these things that I'm no longer a part of? And I started thinking to myself, it's great for me to reference that to know what I don't want to go back to. It's great for me to reference that.
Yes.
To grow, right? But, I don't need to stay there. And in that moment, a lot of things shifted for me because I remember thinking the first time I felt that experience was the first time I joined the military and I went back home and I realized that everybody was doing the exact same thing that they were doing 5 years ago. And I'm like,
yes,
why are people still doing the same thing 5 years ago? And so in that moment, I was like, you know what? I have to make sure that anytime I think of something in the past, I think of something that, maybe like a mistake or an obstacle, I use it as a lesson learned, but not a place that I need to be or get stuck in. And
good.
Just really started my journey to becoming a better leader, but also on a path to writing the book that I'm actually about to release.
We're excited to hear about that. But before we get in too far, Missy, Cristian needs to share about himself, doesn't he?
Yeah, I was going to say, we have so much to talk about.
We already, first of all, we're like 2 minutes in. You've already
they're like, somebody named Cristian's on the call. Right. So Cristian Martinez, we're glad you're here. Yeah. Tell our listeners about who you are, what you do.
So I'll tell you a little bit about me, and I'll tell you the things that I'm most proud of. So I did reference a little bit that I served for about 23 years in the Air Force. So that was a big part of my journey. I retired in 2023. And one of the things that I'm most excited about is being married for over 22 years
Congratulations on that.
And we met that sweet wife not that long ago.
Oh, she's precious.
Yeah. So, and she's probably the best thing that's happened to me, if not the thing that keeps me grounded and moving in the right direction. So, she's Sharita. She is also a phenomenal coach and trainer as well. She actually helped me start the business. Mm-hmm. So we've been in business for about 7 years because at the time I knew that I wasn't going to stay in the military for forever. I knew that wasn't forever. So my goal was to go to something. John talks about, the difference between leaving something and going to something. And I really wanted to be excited about something. So we started building a business, and we had 3 amazing children. Both our oldest boys are playing college basketball. One is in Georgia and the other one is in North Dakota. And
cold North Dakota. We've been there.
No, thank you.
Cold.
No, thank you.
Not in the winter, at least.
I told myself I was never going back there. And then my wife goes, "Hey, let's go visit Jalen." And I go, I'm going to pass on this one. And she's like, "You're going to pass on visiting your son?" I wouldn't put it as pass on visiting our son. I put it as pass us going back to North Dakota.
Yeah. Or pass on that winter weather, right?
Pass on the cold.
I was like, I can fly him out here. And then when we got there, it was the coldest day of the year is what they told us. I'm like, seriously?
Oh, so, Cristian. No. No.
And then we do have a baby girl, Genesis. She's 12, going on 30, and she is in the 7th grade.
That's awesome. Well, we're just excited to talk with you today, and this quote especially because I feel like so many people are stuck in that old version of themselves.
Yeah, and I think there are a lot of people listening who feel that they're stuck.
Yeah.
But there may be some listening that don't even realize it.
Yeah. So let's dive right in. And you already talked about, personally, there was something that prompted you to post that, right? Like you were going through something and you decided, did you get a lot of response from that, Cristian, from that post on Facebook?
I did. I think what ended up happening, and I didn't realize this, is I had started this journey of just really self-reflecting. So when I had shared that quote, I think I had been posting for about probably a year into my journey, probably a little bit further into that. But what ended up happening is I started and I said, every day I'm going to document what I'm learning and what I'm experiencing and what I'm growing through.
Love that.
Yeah. And so what I
Wait, did you just say, I'm sorry to interrupt. Did you just say going through or growing through?
Going and growing.
There you go. There you go.
Because we talk about that too. Learn through, grow through what you go through. So I was tuned in there.
Yeah. So and that's what was key, right? Is I was experiencing things and the reason why I said going through is because I wanted to teach people that you didn't have to become a product of what you experienced. Right. And so even though I was being challenged, in a leadership space, even though I was being challenged professionally and mentally, I chose to say, if I was in charge, this is what I would do. And so for over 300 days, I would post every single day.
Wow.
At 6 a.m.
Wow.
I'd get up and I would share what I learned the day before.
Wow. And talk about consistency.
And intentionality.
Yes.
Yeah. And so my wife, it's so funny. My wife would say, you don't have to get up every day and get on social media. I said, I am not getting up every day and getting on social media. What I'm doing is I'm getting up every day and holding myself accountable to learning something, right? I wanted to learn something from every experience that I had. And one of the most challenging experiences that I had was that I had somebody at a specific point in my career that was literally trying to destroy my career.
Oh.
And so in the midst of that, I had chose, John Maxwell talks about like all of these different things. And I remember hearing him reference something about, taking the high road. And I think one of his, he has 2 books. One is like High Road Leadership. The other one is Jesus, the High Road Leader. But he talked about taking the high road and how the high road is one that's less traveled. And I realized that that's what I had done in that situation. This individual tried to find all kinds of ways to really like run my name through the mud, to make me look bad. And I think in spite of that, I found it so exhilarating to like continue to show up and just be the best version of myself. Like, how can I do better? How can I show up better? And I saw people around me. I'm talking about people from different walks of life, just talking about, oh my goodness, like the stuff that you're posting, I'm going through. Oh my goodness, the stuff that you're sharing, I wish I would have looked at it from that perspective. Oh my goodness, why isn't it that other people look at things the way that you do? And then I think the most profound thing that I heard was a young man reached out to me. I didn't even know that they were paying attention to what I was posting online. And this young man says, you have to keep doing what you're doing.
Oh, wow.
And then I was like, hey, you know, like, why would you say that? Like, I was really intrigued as to why he felt so strong. Like, I could feel, for some reason, I could feel the passion in what he wrote.
Yeah, right.
And then he like wrote back, he said, in exclamation marks, he's like, you don't know how this has impacted my life and the people that I lead.
Wow.
He said, and the people that I lead. And I said, tell me more. He said, every morning I get up, I take your content, and then I go share it with my team. Like literally, he would go share it with his team. And so he would say, every morning we have like a roll call. He worked with cops, and what they would do is they would come on shift. They would talk about like all the challenges of the day, and then they would talk about how to prepare for the day and you know what they wanted them to think going into the day. And so what he would do is he would play my videos to his entire team before they got on shift. And I was like, I like, why are you doing that? Like that was in my mind. I was like, that was not what that was for. And then he was like, no, that's exactly what it's for. Like, my guys get faced with like challenges. I mean, difficult people to work, all kinds of stuff. And I want them to see that if they just change the way they look at things, that they too can make a big difference in their community. And so I was like, and so in that moment, I was like, man, I can't keep like allowing what people are doing to affect how I show up.
Right. Oh my gosh, Cristian, that is so good. I heard you say, instead of becoming bitter, you decided to become better.
Yeah.
So that's good. All right. So Cristian, how do you help someone recognize when they're stuck in a story that no longer serves them?
So interestingly enough, I tend to ask people a few questions. And this is something that I've been really, really passionate about, I would say, for the past like 4.5 years.
Wait, so pause just for a second. If you're listening, get out your pen and notebook.
Yes.
Cristian is about to give you the questions that he asks his coaching clients. So if you're listening,
pure gold.
I'm going to take notes. Okay. I just wanted to prep our listeners, Cristian.
Yeah. So the first thing that I'll do is, and I did this actually yesterday. You know, I'll jump on the call and I'll ask people like, hey, tell me a little bit about you. And really what I'm looking for is I'm looking for the peaks. I'm looking for what excites them when they're sharing. So I just listen and I ask them, tell me a little bit about you. And then in that conversation, I will hear something where either their voice inflection like really gets kind of high, or they get really kind of like passionate. And then I go back and I ask, can you share with me what excites you the most about where you are in your life right now? And then oftentimes people will share like something that they're working on. Is it a book? Is it, you know, maybe a new fitness journey? What is it that they're excited about? So it's typically the excitement question. What are you most excited about? And then I'll ask them, is there anything that you could be doing right now that if money wasn't associated with, that you would do it regardless? Like you would do it because you want to. So
like when you're asking that question, do you mean like career-wise or hobby-wise? Like if money wasn't an issue or money, it didn't matter, it was free, this thing that you want to do, you would do it. So are you talking about career-wise just in their passion zone? Like, what do you mean specifically about that?
That's an absolutely great question. And it's yes to both.
Hey, bestie. We just got some amazing feedback from a client we recently worked with. Their team's morale and engagement skyrocketed after our training.
I love hearing that. Companies are seeing higher retention, lower turnover, and even increased revenue and productivity because leaders are investing in their teams.
And communication and team efficiency are improving, which we know leads to better customer service and huge cost savings. If you want these results, check out our website, Mpactful Messages, to learn how we can help you.
And for more leadership tips and strategies, sign up for our newsletter, mmleadershipnews.com.
I just want to know what you're passionate about. Like, what are you passionate about? And I'll tell you why in a second. And so I want to know, a little bit about them. So then I find out what excites them. I want to know what they're passionate about, because as I start doing this, what I'm doing is I'm bringing things into their awareness. So my goal is to bring the things that they may not think of naturally to the forefront, right? How can I bring it directly in front of them? And then what I do is I create a Venn diagram. So a Venn diagram is where I take two different things that you may not think are related, bring them together, and then create your sweet spot. Right?
Love that. Yes.
So as I'm asking that passion question, then I go, okay, I know what you're excited about. I know what you're passionate about. Do you mind if I ask you one more question? And typically they're like really excited.
Of course not. Yeah.
Because it's all about them.
They love talking about themselves, sharing it. Yeah.
Yes. So I have not shared anything. I am really just listening and then really kind of paying attention to what they're doing. So then I lead with the last question that I like to ask. And the last question is, and I kind of like, I lean into this a little bit, and then I'll say, I want you to just think about for a moment, without, if nobody was here, right? And I just gave you a mic and I said, just brag on you a little bit, just a little bit, right? Just, take, like humbleness out of the window and just brag on yourself. Tell me what you do better than anybody else. And then I just kind of like lean in to ask a little bit of tweaked questions. So it's either what you do better than anybody else. Is there something that you're really, really good at? And then I will prompt them by saying, this is something that you may be thinking you do, and you don't even think about it. Do you organize things really well? Like, and I get them to think. And then, so we go through that. And so when people do answer those three questions, it tends to build in my mind. And this is something that I've learned about myself. It helps me develop a strategy on how to help them walk in their purpose.
Oh, that's good. Good. Okay. I want to switch gears just a little bit because, Cristian, you work with individuals. You were just talking about that, but you also do a great deal of work with teams and side organizations, similar to what Macy and I do.
Yes.
And so when you're working with teams on performance and culture, what are some outdated beliefs that organizations tend to reside in?
So my biggest, I don't know if I would say myth or disbelief is that it has to be done the way that it's always been done.
Oh, we see it too.
That is so
oh my
good.
goodness.
We've done this before. That's the way we've always done it. I love that you said that. So talk us through then. That's what organizations say. We've always done it before. And that honestly speaks so clearly to this quote, right?
Yes.
Like literally residing in the past because we've always done this before. I mean, I don't think that there could have been anything better that you would have chose as it relates to that. So with that in mind, then how do you help them move from the past to either the future or at least the present?
Right. Getting them at least unstuck, right, Mayce?
Yeah. So one of the things that I love to do, and I learned this, I learned that people don't really understand something until they see it, right?
Visually, or they're experiencing
yeah, exactly, visually,
okay.
right? But what I'm saying is they don't understand it until they see it in their mind. It's like an idea.
Yeah.
Right. And so what I try to do is I try to paint a picture for people. And so depending on the audience, I will typically try to use an analogy that is relevant to them. So I'll tell you exactly how I did this recently.
Okay.
And it really sparked something that I think is amazing and beautiful. So I had worked with somebody for about 10 years. I had worked with them 10 years ago.
Okay.
So I had worked with them, but they knew the caliber of individual that I was, right? They knew that I was great at leadership, great at customer service. They even saw me in a position where they were like, man, like, I want you to help me lead my teams. That's kind of the light that they had saw me. Now, I wasn't doing this. I wasn't doing this at that moment, right?
Okay.
So fast forward 10 years, and I'm in a supermarket, and I believe in always leading with value. So this individual sees me and they're like, hey, are you still doing leadership stuff? And I go, yes, absolutely. And they're like, man, I remember how passionate you were about that stuff 10 years ago. And it was so exciting to see, people wanting to make a difference, but truly wanting to make a difference, like 10 years ago. And she said, but I noticed that you recently retired. And I said, yes. And then she was like, so what are you doing now? I said, the same thing. I love leadership. I love helping teams. We do customer service training. We do leadership development. And she's like, what did you just say? And I said, we do leadership development. She goes, no, the first thing. And I said, customer service training. She goes, man, my team could use that. I said, hey, I really like you. Why don't we just do a complimentary training for your team? I said, here's what I would need from you. And I said, if you can, send me some of the challenges that you have. And what we will do is we will customize training specifically for your organization. She's like, are you sure? And I said, yeah. And she's like, and you said complimentary? I said, absolutely. Just like how we started before we actually came on the podcast, right? Like I shared with them, right. I want to make you look good. That's my goal. How can I make you look great in front of your leadership? And she was like, okay, great. So we spend like a few months kind of like getting all the details ironed out. And she calls me, she goes, hey, the training we're supposed to do, we have to delay it. It's not going to happen. And I said, oh, okay, no problem. And she goes, you're not upset? I said, no. And then she goes, why not? I said, this happens all the time. I said, the reason people don't, value the things that we do oftentimes until they see us do it is because they believe it's been done before. And she goes, interesting. She said, do you know that that's the same thing that my leadership said? I said, yeah, I know. I said, here's what I want you to share with them. I said, I want you to go back to them the next time you have a conversation, and I want you to share with them. I want you to ask them, what's their favorite song? Right?
Okay.
And she was like, why would I ask them what's their favorite song? I said, I want you to go back and ask them what's their favorite song, and ask them if they've ever heard a new lyric in the song. If they've ever had a different feeling in that song. If they've ever heard that song in a different state of mind and it changed their state of mind after listening to the song.
I feel like, Missy, we need to be writing this down.
We'll go back and take notes. We always do.
We always do. But I just feel like this is such an interesting, like, I know where you're going, and I'm thinking about all the songs while you're talking. I'm thinking about all the songs that I've heard differently.
Yes. In a different time in your life, or a different person sings them. Okay.
And
we digress.
So then she goes, wait. And I said, what's wrong? So we're on the phone, and she goes, I don't care what they say, you're doing this training. So she stopped me, like, she's like, wait. And I said, okay, what changed your mind? She said, and like, I'm going to try not to get emotional. She said, I remember a few years ago listening to a song that changed my life when I thought I couldn't have children. And she was like, after listening to that song over and over again, she's like, So she had 2 girls, and she was told she couldn't have any more children. And she said after listening to that song, she was like, she kept, listening to the song, and she's a person of faith. So she was like, I prayed, but then I kept listening to the song. And she was like, you would not believe, 3 years after listening to that song consistently, I was able to get pregnant, and I had a healthy baby girl.
Oh, wow.
And I was thinking to myself, that's what I'm talking about. Like, most people, when they look at things differently, when they change the way they look at things change. And she was like, you're absolutely right. She was like, I don't care what they say, you're doing the training. So we scheduled the training, and the day of the training, we show up. Actually, we show up. We know where we're supposed to be going, but we wanted to wait for her so we could walk in together. And it's funny because she messages us and she goes, hey, I'm here. Let me know when you get here. And I was like, hey, you're late. We're already here. And so she comes up to us and she goes, I am so sorry. She was like, I was out of work for a week. I took some time off, and it looks like they changed our training. So our training that's supposed to be, a 4-hour workshop is now a 2-hour workshop, and they want to change it to a 1-hour training. So from 4 hours to 1.
Wow. Yeah.
And I said, hey,
I got this.
I'm going to be the easiest person that you ever work with.
Right.
No problem. So we get started. Less than 30 minutes into our training, so me and my wife are doing the training, she pulls my wife aside and she says, you see that lady over there? She wants to set up a contract for you guys to come in and do training for not only our hospital, but for 76 other hospitals.
Oh my God.
Wow.
Just from what they saw in less than 30 minutes.
Right.
And I shared with her that, I wasn't excited because that wasn't my intention. Like, that was not the reason that I did what I did. But I was excited because of how she looked. Right? Everybody looked to her like now she is the expert. Like, she knows how to solve this problem.
Yes.
Right? But it all came from just being able to articulate why it's important that, we don't, live in the past.
Yes.
Right? But, learn to grow through the things that we're going through. So she was able to share that vision with the team. And so right now we're in talks, and, it's, we're excited.
Good. I mean, it's amazing. You're going to be able to help them from the past. So that was a great story to really, as an analogy.
To wrap us up. We knew it was going to be incredible, but that was so good.
Cristian, someone's listening right now. They're resonating, right? They're saying, gosh, like, this is me. I'm stuck. I'm stuck in the past. I'm stuck with imposter syndrome. I'm stuck with all these thoughts of what I used to be, and they were holding me back. What is one thing? What is one step that person who's feeling stuck, who they're saying, you're talking to me right now, Cristian?
Yeah.
Like, what is one thing right now that they can do to help get them out of the past and into their future?
Oh, man. I'd say get my book. No.
Well, you'll tell us about
that's
that.
That's right.
No, I'm kidding. But I do reference this a little bit. And I think understanding the importance of necessary endings.
Ooh.
That's good.
Right. And so so there's 3 things that I've learned, and I learned, through a mutual friend, that I needed to end. And I definitely would write these down, because this is something that I had to get very intentional about.
Okay.
So the first one was understanding the habits that I needed to end. What habits were not serving me?
Love it.
And so oftentimes what tends to happen is we will say we don't have enough time, or I don't have blah, 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 whatever that is. But if you were to look at your schedule, if you were to look at your agenda and see that you don't have nothing on your schedule, and then you binge watch TV, that habit isn't serving you.
That's right.
Or sleeping in. Like, oftentimes people are like, well, I want to sleep in. Okay, great. So with you sleeping in, that means you can't work out. You can't publish that book. You can't listen to that devotional. You can't do so many things by some of the habits that you have. So what habits do you need to end?
Love
the
that.
second thing is the thoughts. So going back to the quote, what thoughts aren't serving you? And in my book, one of the chapters, I specifically dedicated it to talking to yourself versus listening to yourself.
Ooh.
And initially, I struggled with, like, would people understand what I'm saying? And the thought process is we listen to ourselves way more often than we talk to ourselves.
Oh my God, that honestly, you've said so many amazing things. I think that right there has been my favorite thing that you said today.
Yeah. So good.
That we listen to ourselves more than we talk to ourselves. That for me was the mic drop, gold beyond gold nugget right there.
Yeah. And the challenge has been, is what I'm saying serving me, or is what I'm listening keeping me stuck? And I know for me it was. And so what I've done is every morning I try to get up and I try to do affirmations, because and my wife is she's so funny. So she goes, "Why do you get up out of bed like that?" It startles me. I get up like
boom, hit the floor running.
And she's like, "What is going on?" And she was like, "I thought your back was hurting." I was like, "It does, but that is irrelevant." We are going. So just making sure that the things that you're saying are uplifting, encouraging, edifying to yourself. We do a really good job of speaking into people, but I don't know that we do a good enough job speaking into ourselves.
Yeah.
I swear, I just recently spoke to a group of high school girls from my high school, and we are speaking the same language. I'm just wanting to do an amen in the corner.
Yeah, I did. Well, you
got a third point,
but I said amen. I said amen.
I should have figured if I was thinking it, you had thought it too.
Yeah, and then the last one, and this is probably the most challenging one, and this is the one that everybody's gonna go, ugh. It's the relationships. What relationships do we need to end? There's certain relationships in your life that aren't serving you. They're either and the way that I reference this is, I am a train conductor. I am moving this train in one direction, and you are on the train for either a moment, for a stop, or for a season. But what you're not going to do is stop this train. So I want you to be with me. I would love for you to be on this journey with me. However, I know that everybody isn't meant to be on the entire journey with me. So
I have two thoughts with that. One, I always say, and actually my freshman college roommate taught me this: people stay in our lives for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. So same thing. And then the other one is, you were talking about the endings, right? They're necessary endings. I was thinking of that song, I think Semisonic, Closing Time. Every new beginning comes from another beginning's end.
Yes.
So I just think that really, every new beginning had another beginning, comes from another beginning.
You need to go listen to it again with the new idea that Cristian just shared, and see where that takes you.
Yeah. I will. Listeners, if you only take away one thing from this episode, let it be this: true growth begins when we stop identifying with our past limitations and start aligning with our present potential. The past, it could teach us, but it cannot define us unless we let it.
That's right. Growth means choosing to reference your past, but not relive it. We can learn from pain and failure and even our wins, but we can't lead from a place of self-doubt that's rooted in yesterday.
Yes. And just like our friend John Maxwell has taught us, yesterday ended last night.
Or Macy, our friend Elsa, who's taught us to let it go, let it go.
Yes, it's true.
All right. So, Cristian, we've asked this to a few previous guests, and we love it so much. So we said we're going to ask you and maybe some other guests to see how it lands. We know that learning and growing is important to you. And so we're curious, what is a leadership lesson that you didn't learn from a course or a training or a book, but you learned it through experience?
The quote that I shared today.
Yeah.
It was, I think, I felt like I had a great childhood, and I felt like I had a great life, because I chose to learn. But then as I reflect back, I think about some of the opportunities that I may have not had, and some of the challenges that I did have the opportunity to go through, and it made me better. Like I think the hardest season in my life, you know, for a moment, I said, why me?
Mm.
And then I instantly said, you know what? It's because nobody else can go through what you're going through. And I said, if I don't experience it, then I can't teach people about it. I can't help people grow through it. And it was one of the most powerful lessons that I learned in that moment that really just helped me understand, in order to become the leader that the people that I'm meant to serve need, I need to go through this. And so I didn't look at the challenges and all the setbacks. And, somebody asked me, like, you were on a career trajectory that you were going to be like the number one, like, blah, 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 blah. And I'm thinking to myself, that's irrelevant. Did I make an impact? That was the only thing that mattered to me. Like,
such good perspective.
Right. Like, did I help somebody? And if it was to choose between helping somebody and getting promoted, there wasn't even a choice. Like, I know people want to get promoted and money's great, but I was able to help somebody, like it was to get somebody to call you and say, hey, my family didn't commit suicide because of something that you shared. That is impact, right? Wow. To help somebody recover from a mistake that could have cost them their career, and then they're saying, I am now a speaker because of what you shared with me, and I use that as an accountability to help others. Like, I wouldn't have done that if I was so worried about where I was going. And not
Cristian, you honestly, you have one of the biggest hearts of anyone we have ever met. We are so grateful that you are in our life, and we are so thankful that you joined us today. So if our listeners want to stay connected with you, what's the name of the book, first of all, because we want to encourage everyone when it comes out. What is the name? So write this down.
Yeah. So the name of the book is Borrowed Belief.
Borrowed Belief.
Oh, I love
that's a strong title. And then where on social can they follow you?
So there's several places that you can follow me. And I think it's easier if like you said, we share it in the show.
Yeah, we are definitely. All right. So we'll just do that. We're going to put all of your social contacts. We'll put your website address. So if they want to work with you directly, they could find you there. So we're going to put all of that in the show notes for sure.
Okay. But go ahead. I don't want to interrupt you, Cristian.
No, I was going to say, if one of the things that I love to do is I always love to try to serve, right? So if people want to connect, or they want to maybe jump on a strategy call, or just, have a conversation, they can do that. And I will provide that to you guys. However, it might be, again, challenging for them to do it because people always tend to put an H in my name.
Yes, no, that's why
we'll have it all in the show notes. Yeah, we'll have it all in the show notes.
Cristian Martinez with no H in Cristian.
Yeah,
it's going to be all there, so they'll be able to see it.
Yeah. Okay. So the website is Cristian R. Martinez, so no spaces.com, and then /culture. And then if they go there, they'll see the things that we do, but they can actually book a call with us and get a free gift.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. All right, so I have to ask, I'm sitting on the edge of my seat. This is one of my favorite parts of the podcast that we ask all our guests. Cristian, what is your favorite leadership quote?
Man, that is challenging. And the reason I say that is because I always look online and I think, man, that's kind of selfish for people post a quote that they made and then say, oh, this is a great quote. And so I don't want to reference a quote that I have, but one of the quotes constantly comes to mind is, if you fall down and you can look up, you can get up.
Oh,
yeah, I like that.
Yeah. So I think, oftentimes people think that when you fall, like you can't get up, or nobody really falls on their face. Like,
well, I have fallen on my face, but that's like a klutzy thing. That's not like, a metaphor. Like I have fallen.
Yeah. But even when you do, the first thing you do is almost like roll over, right? Like,
yeah.
So, so that quote kind of has stuck out to me. And the reason why is because it embodies what I believe every single one of us needs to do, which is why I wrote the book. And I'm super excited about the book because the book is really about helping people understand that you don't know that every part of your life, you've already borrowed somebody else's belief. And so what I'm trying to do is impart like all of these like steps to just help you be successful, accomplish your goals and your dreams by just borrowing a little bit of my belief in you right now.
Yeah.
Like, you don't even know who I am, but just borrow this belief, go crush your goals, and then come back and tell me about it, right? So the book is designed to do that. And it's awesome.
It's going to be awesome.
So good.
It's going to be awesome.
Good.
All right, listeners, do you have a favorite leadership quote? Let us know that, and we might spotlight it on a future episode.
We'll be back next week with another quote and more leadership insights. And you know what we're going to do? We're going to talk about it.
All right. Thanks, Cristian.
Thank you, Cristian. Bye, bestie. We want to thank you for listening. If you're enjoying this podcast, please show us some love by clicking the 3 dots to download the podcast. Leave us a 5-star rating on your podcast app and talk about it with other leaders to help them find the show from any of the major podcast apps. We'd love for you to follow us on social media too. Mpactful with an M _ messages on Instagram and Mpactful Messages on LinkedIn.